Good.
All right. Okay, and then we have one attendee, two attendees. Okay, so now we do have a few attendees. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Good evening.
We're going to get started and make some
Welcome.
introductions in just a moment. Thank you for joining.
Should we give it just a minute or so?
Yeah,
Just
I
to
think
give
let's
people a chance
give
to
it
get on.
let's give it just one more minute. We've got a total of 13 people, which is a great start. So everyone, thank you for coming. All right. Well, everyone, I think let's go ahead and get started, shall we? All right. My name is Eric Balchef. I'm going to help us kind of navigate the evening. This is our first Planning Commission workshop that we've done, and of course it is being conducted on Zoom. So we appreciate your patience in advance, but we think that we have worked out all the kinks and are ready to walk you through some great things that we're working on and how we want to involve you in the next steps for our borough. So as we go forward, we're going to begin with some introductions to your Planning Commission. I'm Eric Balchef. I live on Belvedere Street and have been here in Crafton for, a little over 15 years now, and have 3 kids in the school district. Why don't Colton, you go next?
Oh, sorry, I'm making sure I'm not muted. Hi, everybody. My name's Colton Chandler, and my wife and I bought a house on Union Avenue in 2019. I actually also grew up in Crafton, so I've been around for quite a while and spent most of my childhood actually riding my bike up and down Ewing Road before it was what it looks like now. So, but I had joined the Planning Commission just to try and get involved with the community more that we live in, and see if we can try and make a difference.
Kirsten?
Right. Hi, I'm Kirsten Compitello. I'm in my 3rd year living here in Crafton. I live on Hawthorne. I have 2 little kids, one of whom just started kindergarten, so 2 kids in the Crafton school district. I am an urban designer, so I work with city planning and town planning every day. That's my passion. I'm very much into the design elements of what makes towns really great. And it's one of the things that attracted me to Crafton when I was looking to move here and buy a house. I really loved the walkable neighborhood and all these, beautiful, beautiful houses and beautiful street trees and beautiful historic character. And I'm really excited that's what brought me to the Planning Commission, to help work with strengthening and protecting and preserving the place, the things that make this place special.
Awesome. Rich?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rich Kramer. I've been with the Planning Commission for a number of years now, 2 years now, and I act as the recording secretary for the Planning Commission. Before that, I worked approximately 15 years with Crafton Celebrates. I also sit on the Crafton Heritage Committee as their treasurer. So I'm very involved with the neighborhood. I'm very involved with the commissions and committees within Crafton. And I want to continue to do that. We've been doing a lot. You see a lot of work going on around Crafton right now. I want to be a part of that and make some of the decisions.
Absolutely. And our chairperson, Lydia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lydia Herring. I'm the current chairwoman of the Planning Commission, and I've been in Crafton about 6 years now. Have a 2-year-old at home, and I actually came to the Planning Commission kind of secondarily. I had first been on the steering committee for the comprehensive plan, and I was really interested in implementing the goals of that plan. So that's kind of what led me to join the Planning Commission and continue the work of that plan moving forward. So we're really happy you're all here and hope you learned something, and that you're able to give us some, feedback and your thoughts about everything after you learn more about what we have to share.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we're going to take an hour tonight to go over a couple of things. This is really an orientation. This is our first workshop. We want to walk you through some ideas that we have. We want to kind of level set some things about what the borough is working on and what we're not working on. And really, this is an opportunity to extend an invitation to you to create more opportunities, not to be jargon and say transparent, but to really invite your voice, your ideas, your thoughts into what the vision of our town should be. So we're going to go through a series of slides here to give you some context around what we've been doing. We're specifically going to give you a recap of some of the initiatives. We're going to talk to you about some of the things that are currently in motion, but we're also going to start kind of framing or couching some of the things that are coming our way. As we wrap up tonight, we'll talk about some next steps and some things that we're going to be launching to really create a broader audience for you to tell your neighbors and to get everyone involved. So along the way tonight, if you would like to ask a question, we will be getting the questions at the end. However, if you see something, say something along the way so we can have it, and then we'll address as many of the questions as we possibly can. Our format is 1 hour. We'll go a little long if we need to, but not much over. We want to keep this short and sweet so that people who choose to review the recording of this later have an opportunity to know what's in store for them. So with that, let's go ahead and get started and talk a little bit about where we've been.
Yep. So as I kind of alluded to in my introduction, there was a 2017 adopted comprehensive plan, and this plan was actually completed jointly with Ingram Borough, and the process started in the fall of 2015, and there was a year-plus kind of community feedback gathering process, and some key goals were established of that plan. You can go to the next slide. So the 4 key goals of that plan were walkability and connectivity, commercial development, property maintenance and code enforcement, and communication. And in that plan, implementable goals were laid out for each of those key areas, focus areas. And we kind of talked through in the document what could be done immediately and then what were longer term goals. So the Planning Commission has been working in some of these key areas, especially lately, to really further the goals of that plan. The comprehensive plan is available on the borough website. I'm not sure if everybody's aware of that. There's a community page tab within the borough website, and under that there's a comprehensive plan kind of sublink, and the direct link is on this slide, and this is going to be posted to the website as well, so you should be able to find it pretty easily. In 2019, our borough manager, who the previous borough manager had done in a progress report, kind of talking to each of the goals of the comprehensive plan, and it really lays out what we've already accomplished, what we're still actively working on, and what is continues to be a future goal. That's also available on the website. That's a really good way to get your head wrapped around some of the topics that the Planning Commission works on every month.
All right, I have to remember to unmute. We wanted to also share a few of the other things that have been happening that impact our community recently. And there are quite a few. We're going to get into some of them. One of the first things we wanted to share was that we are a Connect community. Even though we are small, there's this this group called Connect is a collaboration between the various different boroughs and municipalities outside of the city of Pittsburgh. And they have done some work that impacts our community. They did a study in 2018 called a TOD study, a transit-oriented development study, and they featured our community. It included some plan recommendations and code zoning recommendations, and also just recommendations that featured the potential of our community that we can use in the future to help go after additional grant funding. So that was a good thing to happen, to include Crafton. The Planning Commission itself, this group, tried to do an activation event last year. We had an open street pop-up, we called it. That was held in October. And some of you may have attended that. It was, the street was closed down for a few hours, and business owners and community members joined outside to enjoy the downtown and get a sense of what it could, what it could be like if we made this place a little bit more vibrant and thriving and really invested in it. We do have some Main Street initiatives. We have a street tree program that the Planning Commission does not administer, but that is a program that the borough is involved with. And then this Planning Commission also had worked on some branding for the community. And one of the things that came out of this was this heart, this hashtag #IHeartCrafton with the little drawing with the trees in the center. And that's something that we've continued talking about and would like to continue moving forward. Part of planning is also just making sure that we have an identity and that we have ways to market ourselves as a community, and our events and our Main Street. So those are some things that came out of last year.
Fantastic.
On to bigger things.
Well, they're all big things. And, I just want to say that our budget in this town, it's gone up more than 10% over the past couple of years. And there are a lot of good indicators, and there are a lot of folks in and around this region that have an eye on Crafton and see it as an up and coming and a really great place. Well, what they don't know is it's not just up and coming; it's already great to be here. But some of the things that we've been able to secure and do, not necessarily the Planning Commission, but just as a town. Our council has worked on this, and it's through everyone's effort to make this a really super livable, walkable, friendly neighborhood. The community's won with our $4 million budget over $8 million. I was closer to 10 now, $1 million in grants that have been awarded to our town. A lot of it has come from Alcosan, and Alcosan is replacing, these dollars are being used to replace and separate stormwater to help clean the Chartiers Creek. The reality of a lot of that, and some of the myth that we want to kind of unpack as we move forward with these events is that we have to pay for that $8 million, but we can go to any bank and we'll get the money because it's a guarantee. We turn in the receipts and are paid back. So the reality is these are things that had to be done anyway. At some point, you need to replace the sewer pipes. At some point, we need to tackle these big and important projects. And the reality is, outside of a small match, which might be 10%, might be upwards of 15, 18%, 20%, not more than that. So those are our matching dollars to it. So for every dollar, we're paying less than 20 cents for things that at some point we'll have to do anyway. And as you go through the comprehensive plan, Thrive, Crafton Ingram Thrive, you'll see a lot of a constant theme there about what are the costs of not doing things. So this is one of those opportunities. That money, that federal money at Alcosan that we're able to draw down as a community will not be there forever. So at some point, we know that our sewer pipes will not last forever. So these are the kinds of things, the park work that you're going to be seeing come to fruition now, the work on the pool. Unfortunately, through COVID, we've struggled. But the reality is across the board, these initiatives were made possible because of our state, our community surrounding us, investing in us with these grants. So I want to just point that out and say we're going to spend a lot of time as we go forward in kind of really understanding what these things mean, what Alcosan means, clean water separation, and lots of strange words that maybe you've never heard. I certainly hadn't before I got involved. And we'll really get a better understanding of what the future is in store for us. Golden?
Okay, the current initiatives that we're working on right now, these are the major projects that are on the table right now. We're in the midst of a zoning update right now. We're working in collaboration with Ingram and working with an outside firm that's walking us through how to and what we need to do to apply for a grant through the state of Pennsylvania and turn that money back into being able to get Ingram to rezone their property, get Crafton to be able to rezone all of Crafton, and then a district known as the overlay district, meaning it's shared property, a zoning of the Crafton Shopping Center district area, and stuff around there. The Crafton business map, that came out of a request from somebody on council and a few other people in the community that we need to put up, and they used to have a Crafton business map that was on the website, that we need to let people know what types of businesses are here and where they can find them. We went out and we got a spreadsheet from a taxing organization that gave us all the businesses they're paying taxes in the Crafton borough. We went out first and redacted all the businesses that were work from home businesses and still came up with about 200 addresses. And the commissioners right now are separating that data and going through what are actually businesses still here, what businesses have been replaced from the on the tax rolls, and enhancing that data by going out and finding out what type of business they are, whether they have a website. If they do have a website, put that out there, and also their phone number, so that we can get that back out to the borough and make it easier for the people of Crafton to be able to find what businesses are in here. The vision document we're going to be talking about in the next couple slides. It's really our think document. The Crafton Borough Commissioner, not Borough Commissioner, I'm sorry, the Crafton Planning Commissioners have been using this document over the last few months, talking about what do we see as the future of Crafton as we do some of these major projects. What other enhancements would we like to see done? Trees along the streets, parking issues that need to be addressed, and other issues. They are in the document you're going to see in a little bit later. The workshop sessions, this is the introductory session, and we'll be having a few others. We talked last night at our meeting about having our second meeting session somewhere in the middle of September, around the 16th or 18th. Stay with Savvy Citizen and with the borough website when we decide what those topics are going to be and what the next workshop is going to be made of. You find that information there.
Thanks, Reg.
As far as the zoning update goes, as part of the implementation of our comprehensive plan, the zoning has not been updated since 2004. Form-based code hybrid envisioned to preserve the historical character of downtown Crafton and Ingram. In 2019, an RFP was issued on behalf of Crafton, and the decision to award the project was postponed. And as Rich had stated previously, in 2020, we has also decided to collaborate with Ingram to pursue joint funding. The current status is that the current status of the zoning update is that the DCED grant on behalf of Crafton and Ingram is being submitted next month of this year, 2020. And the grant will cover up to 50% of the cost, which will be a total of $50,000 anticipated. The cost to Crafton would be $25,000, and Ingram is also to pay $25,000 towards the effort. The zoning will not be joint. Crafton and Ingram will each have their own zoning prepared by the same firm. Both codes would include language to capture similar zoning ordinances in common areas of interest, such as the overlay district at the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center. With outdated ordinances, it discourages reinvestment and makes the borough less attractive to new businesses. Updating zoning is a key thing to implement the 2017 comprehensive plan goals. The zoning codes must align with the community vision for the future. The correct zoning regulations enhance the vibrancy and preserve the character of the community. Some of the key interests of the revisions are things like reviewing and updating code to ensure appropriate uses are in the appropriate districts, encouraging transit-oriented development so that we take advantage of the Port Authority bus stations that we have located in the boroughs. Also to encourage infill and redevelopment, especially in the downtown business core areas, and also to explore form-based codes in order to preserve the historical character of downtown Crafton and Ingram. Another thing is to include well-illustrated diagrams to illustrate regulations and make it easy to understand for all users.
Thanks, Colton. And for anyone wondering, we'll get into a form-based code and what that really means here in a few minutes.
So one of the other things that we're working on, and this also, we'll share the website in this presentation as well, but this is also available online. This Crafton Vision document that Rich introduced briefly earlier is a compilation of ideas that we have been talking about and discussing. It is a living document, so this is not a formal plan. It's not a document that is meant to be complete by any means. It is basically a really cleaned up memo of the various things we've been talking about in terms of sites that are undergoing changes that we want to get ahead of that and be making some recommendations early on while we still have the chance to. Streetscaping and public domain improvements, especially in relation to some of those sites that are undergoing changes. If there's construction happening or coming up, we want to make sure that we're talking now about what kind of impact we want those projects to have on our public domain and our public streets. And then local character to preserve. And we put all of this into this document, both as a guide for ourselves, as we talk about these ideas, and we wanted to have them written down in one place, but also a way that we could share them with council and share them with the community. And then by having these written down, and then by starting to add imagery as well, all of this having this document and having images to back it up, knowing that we've discussed these and we are on board with this vision document. This is being shared and being contributed. We're taking contributions from council and from the community. This all really helps us in the future pursuing funding and supporting implementation of any of these ideas, which we'll get into more in a minute. But all of that documented history works out in our favor when we go after funding. We can show that we have a clear plan, we have a clear vision, we've talked about it, we've documented it. That makes it much easier for us to secure funding. So some of the things, let's see, well, so how is this different from the comprehensive plan? In case anyone is wondering, the comprehensive plan also is a vision document, and it was done in 2017 and contains a lot of the same ideas that are in this vision document. But the community changes a bit over time, and a comprehensive plan is community-wide, and it's done at a particular point in time. It mentions a lot of the things that we're still talking about. We're talking about walkability and connectivity and revitalizing and investing in our business district and our downtown. But as time goes by and as new projects or specific sites have work that needs to be done, then we can discuss specific ways that we can apply some of those comprehensive plan global goals and visions to that particular site. So that is kind of what the vision plan is, the vision document, sorry, is doing. It picks up where the comprehensive plan stops and starts to get into that next level of detail about things that we know are actually coming up for currently on the board. And the most important point to note, that we do want to hear from you. Again, the vision document is a living document. It's a compilation of things that we've been talking about, and we wanted to share it with all of you, but we will also continue adding to it. So this is a starting draft, but we do want community input. The website where it's posted is listed right here on the slide. You can see and review the current vision draft. In one of our upcoming workshops, Rich mentioned that we will have several. We are planning to do this several times throughout the fall. And we're still determining the exact dates and the exact order of topics, and we'll discuss that more as well. But one of those will be to discuss in more detail this vision document and to hear from community members what your visions are, and then try to embed that into what our next steps are and what else goes into this document to guide some of the current initiatives and opportunities that we have. But you don't have to wait for that. Again, on that website, there's also a comment form. So we do want to hear from you, and your visions are also a welcome part of this.
Awesome. Rich, I just wanted to say, Kirsten, thank you. The website that you mentioned, the community visioning, it's in that same drop down on the main website. To call out, there is that form there where you can submit comments back to us. So please do. This is, we'll talk about some other outreach that we're doing, but this is a great way for you not just to read and to see the things that have happened or are in process or are being talked about, but also for your voice to be heard. That is a channel for you to be able to post your comments back into, and for us to be able to try and react and incorporate your thoughts and to invite you into the conversation. Thanks, Kirsten. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, let's take a look at Crafton the way it is right now. It says here on the slide, we have a unique location. We're in that we're located halfway between the city and Greater Pittsburgh Airport. We're connected via the busway, the transit, the Route 60, which has a lot of cars coming through this through our borough as they go towards the city and back out through as they head out towards Robinson. We need to highlight the city, our borough, a little bit more and give them a reason to stop. Well, we're going to do that through a couple different methods. Also, we have a lot of history here in our old buildings, our Victorian style houses. It makes our borough really unique. But as it says here also, those buildings are aging and the infrastructure requires that very soon here, if not now, we're going to require a lot of maintenance to those buildings to keep them looking beautiful. As in regard to our downtown district, for those of you that don't know what we mean by downtown, we're talking basically Noble Avenue between the fire department and Steuben Street. We have that stretch there that has a few businesses on now, but we have a few empty business areas there too. We got to encourage businesses to come into there, and for that reason, we could use your support for that. Our parks and connectivity. We have a number of parks and parklets here: Crafton Park, Noble Park, Linwood Park. From what I understand from our council meetings, we have a grant that has been given to us from the county that's going to allow us to start putting down rubber matting in all our parks, replace some of our playground equipment. The fencing around Noble Park is going to get replaced, and some new equipment will also be put into some of these parks. Our trail systems, we do have a few trails coming through Crafton. We have the trolley trail that comes up from Noblestown Road parallel to Crafton Boulevard. And then we have our creek trail also that runs along the Churchill's Creek. You can access that trail from what's known as Backbone Road, or the beginning of Crafton Boulevard, across from the sled hill. There's bulletin board there, walk down the hill there. It takes you along the creek. It's a nice walk there. It's a nice shady walk. I encourage everybody to take advantage of that, or sometime take a walk along the creek. And it can also be accessed via the ball fields and CIT ball fields, which are going to be looked at in the future year too, to see how we can do some improvements. You can enter to behind one of the fields. There's a walkway to get you on that trail. Take a walk along the creek from there. Enjoy the beauty.
Yeah, I'd like to just add a little bit more about some of the opportunities. Several of our neighboring communities have been investing in their trail systems lately and getting grant funding to do that. The city of Pittsburgh is expanding the trolley trail, which connects right into Crafton. Carnegie just received grant funding to enhance their trail system and put in some new trail. Various communities have definitely been getting funding from different sources for improvements along creeks, and we certainly have that. We have a creek that we could definitely improve access to and improve the wayfinding and signage. So these are some opportunities that we know we have great amenities, and we know that communities around us and like ours are accessing funding to improve these amenities in their neighborhoods. And we see that as an opportunity to think about what we can pursue for our borough as well, to improve our parks and open space networks and connections. One of the other things we're thinking about is what our retail centers can be and are, and how to brand them. This is really a big one, and it's one that several of our initiatives are touching on. The new zoning code will address revitalization and form-based requirements that will hopefully make it easier to bring in new businesses, but also do so with a clear structure of what we expect, what kind of form and character we want in these areas. That's one of the things that form-based code does very well, and that's a reason why we are structuring our zoning code to have form-based code elements, and we'll talk more about that shortly. But we have several different retail areas. We have the Crafton Ingram Shopping Center, which has some constraints of its own, especially because we do not control all of that site. We actually control very little of it. We have a lot of really great small businesses, small local businesses, and they're a little bit scattered in a Main Street downtown core around the busway, around the Borough Building, on Crafton, on East Crafton, and on Noble. But then there are other businesses on little spurs off of that as well. So one of the things that we're thinking about is, Rich had mentioned the commercial map that has been on our agenda for a while. That's one of the things that will support small businesses and the creation of a stronger, more recognizable retail district or downtown for Crafton. Having a map that's maybe nicely put together and graphically pleasing to look at and has some branding to it and is easy to find, can be posted on the borough website, for example, or available in brochures in businesses. Also things like streetscaping and signage and lighting, and there are many things that we can do, that we can consider to to bring more attention and to bring more vibrancy to our downtown. And so this is just getting started, but there are a lot of things that are on our minds. And this is one of the big categories that's on our minds. So also would love to hear from all of you if you have thoughts on this topic.
Before you jump in, Lydia, I just wanted to say we appreciate the questions. Please continue to add them. We're going to address them at the end. We have a few more topics to cover, but please post your questions into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. So we haven't posted the entire vision document here. Again, it is available for you to review on the website if you would like to. But we did include a few just general definition slides for some of the things that you might have heard from us already tonight, as well as some of the things that you might find in that vision document. So what do we mean by complete streets? This is something that we have been talking about. Complete streets are streets that are designed and operated to be safe for all of users. There's no one size fits all design that is a complete street, but generally speaking, a complete street is complete because it serves cars, it serves pedestrians, it serves other users. So things like dedicated parking lanes, clear, safe, accessible sidewalks, accessible curb cuts, clear, safe, attractive crosswalks that make it easy to cross the street, demarcated bike lanes, as well as greenery like street trees or plantings along the street, and even in some cases things like lighting and signage that make it safe for everyone to be using the street. That's really the concept of a complete street. It means that we are thinking about how everyone gets around and making sure that our streets are safe and accommodating for all users, not just the cars, because we don't want everyone to only drive through. We also want them to stop and walk around. And we want our own residents to be safe as they walk around. Green infrastructure. This one really well describes the Alcosan project that we discussed a little bit earlier. The stormwater and sewer separation project comes with elements of green infrastructure. Green infrastructure is essentially using natural systems like plants, plantings, trees, soil, natural, we call it a green system, to filter stormwater. So rather than relying only on heavy engineered concrete, what we call conventional gray stormwater infrastructure, green infrastructure is using natural systems and embedding it in our urban environment. So you can see in the photo examples here, cities that have green buffers along the edges of their streets, those can be used as stormwater management. And it reduces the need for heavy infrastructure. It reduces the cost of long-term maintenance for our stormwater systems. It reduces the load on our stormwater systems, reduces the risk of flooding and the risk of landslide, and also creates an attractive amenity. So this is something that our community is already doing in some places, and we are looking to expand when we have sites that are good opportunities. Transit-oriented development has been mentioned a few times tonight. Transit-oriented development is creation of compact, walkable, pedestrian-oriented mixed-use communities centered around high-quality transit systems. The idea of transit-oriented development is making sure that you locate more density where there's already infrastructure. You build on existing rail or bus systems, and we do have that here in Crafton. We have the West Busway is a rapid transit system. So the idea of TOD is to center more of your denser development around where you have that existing infrastructure and existing transit. It does allow, it does qualify for a lot more funding as well. So this is a category that allows us to seek funding if we do this kind of approach. It increases walkability and it increases the value of the land in those areas. Parking is one of the least valuable uses that we can possibly have for our land. It's not revenue generating. It doesn't provide for business or housing. It just sits there and requires ongoing maintenance. And so the concept of TOD also allows you to use the infrastructure you have and focus on building where you already have that infrastructure. And by focusing it around transit, you can also reduce the parking requirements and maximize how much land is tax revenue generating. So this is another concept that we wanted to share. The form-based code that Lydia talked about earlier, our zoning code rewrite is going to follow a form-based code hybrid format. The form-based code is a newer form of zoning that focuses on the form and the character of the buildings. It regulates built results and the design of the form of the buildings, the form of the public realm, and the form of the street as the organizing principle, so that it's regulating form and massing and scale more than it's regulating use. Again, our code will be hybrid, so there are many ways that we can guide what the final outcome is, and that zoning process will include community participation. But you can see here in the images below what the difference is between conventional zoning that says you can have a use here and then stops there, versus a form-based code that gives more flexibility to adapt uses over time, gives more flexibility for the market to change, but prioritizes what the form and the design and the scale and the massing can be. So it allows a much more traditional and a much more varied type of environment to develop and to grow over time within the limits of the form that we decide we want to regulate for our community, that we think are appropriate for our community. And then finally, Main Street programs. This one is a bit of a catch-all because there are many kinds of Main Street programs, but this is another important category that we have on our minds that offers a lot of opportunities for funding to support Main Street businesses, streetscape improvements along our downtown, along our commercial heart. Main Street programs invest in communities like ours that have local businesses that are primarily supported by local communities, and they can funding from those can give us the opportunity to fund things that are festivals and events and activation, things like open streets events. They can directly help invest in supporting businesses. They can help us update our policies to be more attractive and more supporting of small businesses. Can help us with things like signage, wayfinding, map making, branding, marketing, things like that. So this is definitely, there are many Main Street programs, and we are very well positioned to pursue a lot of those. Eric, I think it's back to you.
That's right. So I am just to help with a preview of what's to come. Our plan, as it stands, is to have at least 2 more of these sessions more formally. If this is an orientation, the next 2 will be more topical to kind of drill down on a couple of things. Right now, there's actually 3 competing priorities here. We're pretty certain about 2. One is a little bit to be determined. There is a grant for the Parks and Recreation planning that we're waiting to hear on. More grants, more good news. So as that comes to fruition, we'll look to put together a more cohesive strategy, as we already are putting together a more cohesive strategy around a number of things. But parks, recreation are a big component of that. But 2 that we are very much aware of, the Crafton Boulevard Sewer Project is a big issue for this town. This is something that was going to have to be done anyway. 90% of the funds were already being covered by Alcasam. We're actually looking for other grants to help with our offset of the 10%. So For every dollar that's spent on something that needs to be done, we'll only be on the hook for 10 when this is all done, 10 cents on the dollar. The reality, though, is it could be far less than that. And those are good things, and that's what planning is all about. So we're going to do one of our workshops really to take a deeper dive into how the mechanics of this work, what these applications do, and what they really mean for us as a whole. And you'll hear us kind of reiterate, going back to Crafton Thrive, the comprehensive plan. You'll hear someone say comp plan, comprehensive plan, really addresses this as a holistic kind of approach, where the cost of not doing something, because at some point down the road something is going to happen, and we don't want to have to fix. We don't want to be on the backside of that, because it's far more expensive, especially when there's federal dollars that are available to us through Alcosan and there's clean water separation. So more to come on that. That will be a fall topic for a workshop, as well as probably one of the most contentious thing that that you hear about around town these days, being the Linden property. If you think of the two properties that are currently owned, one is controlled by the borough of Crafton. It's where the mini golf course is. We control it, I say, because we don't necessarily own it in a way that you and I kind of think of, because we can't sell it. It's not our property to sell. The only way that plot can be developed is if we give up our right to it to use it for municipal purposes. At that point, it does default back to the school district, who owns the greater size property in the back, and they have expressed an interest in really developing a plan to see what could be in store for Crafton there. There's a lot of decisions. There is absolutely nothing that's being decided. And so we're going to have one of these sessions really to involve you in that process, to understand what is right, to understand what is your opinion, and to really shape this into a vision of our town and not a decision of a few. So those are the three workshops that the two that are definitely going to happen, the one that should happen as soon as we hear more about the Parks and Recreation Master Planning Grant, and certainly more to come. We hope that you all are posting questions, you're spreading the word about this. We hope this is a forum to give you insight. We welcome you at any point to our meetings, but certainly this we're hoping is little snippets from time to time. We're going to have 3 of them this quarter, but probably spread them out a little more going forward as everyone's up to speed. So thank you very much, and why don't we go ahead and turn it back over to you, Kirsten.
Okay, so we have talked a little bit about, well, we've talked a fair amount about all of the different grants that we've been lucky enough to get over the past few years, and we're continuing to go after those on a regular basis. There are more out there, so that's really we're in a great position of being a community that has a lot of assets that we can build upon, and some really good cases that we can make to the state and to the county. We're well positioned for some of this grant funding. Some of the ones that we are considering right now, the Active Allegheny Live Well grant. We already are an Active Allegheny Live Well community. Don't ask me the year that we signed that resolution, but we did sign it somewhat in the past few years. That is, the resolution just says that we're committed to improving the ways that our community can live well, healthy communities, things like sidewalk projects and walkability and access to fresh food. But there is a grant that goes with that, and so we can pursue that grant if we have any projects that we would like to pursue that fall in that category, such as improved sidewalks or trails, or any number of things, playgrounds, any number of things that fall under healthy living, healthy communities. The WalkWorks grant is also similar focused. That's a state Department of Health grant. The DCED Economic Development grants, they have quite a few available, and one of those is the same one that we're pursuing for the funding for the zoning. And then public-private partnerships. This is not something that we are talking about as much, but it is something that comes up. We do have sites around, such as, for example, the Linden Avenue school site, where we may not have control over the entire site, but we can work together in partnership with the owner to try to meet the goals of all. So all of those things are things that we're trying to keep in mind and we're trying to work forward towards. And over here in that blue box on the side, I listed a few of the things that some of our fellow communities have pursued through the Live Well Allegheny grant recently, just to give us an idea of the kinds of things that we can pursue for our community as well. Millvale did pedestrian and ADA projects. Braddock and some of those neighboring communities did a study to develop walking and bicycling routes between various municipalities. Carnegie has had a very successful open streets series of events. You can see from the list here, biking, walking, active transport. Some of them are planning, some of them are implementation, some of them are event planning. But these are things that some of our neighboring communities can do, and we know that we can do this too if we desire it. We can qualify for that same funding.
You know, I just want to say before you jump in, Lydia, the list is quite lengthy over the past 18 months, close to $10 million, $8 million now in grants. And some of the things that are tangible that you can see every day are things like the paving that has happened, and you know, the folks in the borough that are really working hard to find these grants and to get these applications written. We're supporting and trying to do our part as well. But little things like upgrading that parking lot. I mean, what a huge difference that makes for people that come through, maybe park in our town to take the bus downtown. It's little things like that that really add up to paint a bigger picture. Funding to support our beautiful borough building. I think it was built in 1938. I don't know when it's had a major overhaul, but there's help on the way, as well as for the library. So these are, you know, they may not seem like a lot, but they really are big things that add up to a big sea change for Crafton, that are funded by, again, people interested in Crafton that are taking a notice of us and investing in our town, and it's good things and spells good things for us all. Thanks, Lydia. Back to you.
Yep, thanks, Eric. So basically just wanted to talk through the next steps for everybody. We all meet every month, regardless of whether there's official borough business or not. We take the opportunity in the cases where we don't have to review you know, specific documents and provide recommendations to council. We take those opportunities to just talk through some of our visioning concepts and work on some of the initiatives that Rich went through, like the business map, etc. So we welcome you. We're currently meeting via Zoom with COVID. The Zoom invite information is advertised through Savvy Citizen and through the newspapers, and should be on the borough website as well. So we really hope you know, you come to our meetings and provide any comments. The other great place that we've mentioned earlier in this workshop is the website. There's a whole subpage specific to the Planning Commission visioning that was set up. We have our vision document there. We have a way for you to communicate with us. You can be anonymous if you need to be or want to be. There's 3 things that we are hoping that you share about tonight. We definitely want to hear from you. So please share that we are open ears to everybody in the community. We really want to hear your voice, your ideas. We think our community is exceptional. We think you're all smart. We don't have all the ideas, and we want to hear from you for yours. So please tell us what you think. We will be having upcoming workshops and hope to continue even beyond the fall as main topics kind of come up that we think we could do an hour's worth of content on. So even if you have an idea for an upcoming workshop, if you want to know more about something you've kind of heard about or heard rumblings about, drop us a line. We might consider making a whole workshop about it or fitting it into one that we're currently planning. And then lastly, we're going to be initiating a survey, and it should only take about 10 minutes of your time, but it really will help us hone in on some of your concerns, and also, you know, best time for you to participate in future workshops. So maybe Wednesday at 7 isn't really great for everybody, especially, you know, this week was difficult with it being the first week of school. But, you know, try to let us know what you think through that survey, and we'll react accordingly.
I do also want to add one more thing about the workshops. Although we are calling these all workshop, obviously tonight was a bit more introductory and it was a bit more presentation because it was the first and we wanted to do a good introduction. But it is our goal to have more interaction and participation. So I hope you don't feel that tonight's format is the only format that we will have.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kirsten. Thanks.
All right. Well,
So we'll open it up to questions.
absolutely. I'm going to turn us over to questions. You know, I think it's important that, and I know we're busy. We're all just, it's crazy, right? Why care? Why plan? This is from the Thrive Plan, right? The reality is, and you hear me harp, and people just love hearing me harp. There are costs to doing things, and there are costs to not seizing opportunities as well. So, you know, take a look at that plan, see what you agree with, and find the things that you disagree with. Let's start a dialogue there, because that plan is not meant to be a fixed vision. It's meant to be something that is very much a living document, just like the community visioning. Thrive is meant to be something that was set to put us in the right direction for us to come back, reiterate, revise, and continuously improve upon. So with that, I'm going to go over to some of the questions. We have 3 questions that came in, and I apologize. I'm going to read the names if it's something I should not do. Next time we'll say, please note if you want to be anonymous. Chrissy Young from Crafton, I believe. The dark green lines on the park trail slide that we showed earlier, are those supposed to be trails to be improved? The one going down the hill at the top of the trolley trail is hardly considered maintained. Last look, many of the steps, city steps, are in hard decline. So it's a great point. I'm not sure exactly which that is, but I do want to point out that in the planning we can't fix maintenance. But for those of you who may not be familiar, on the website, and I encourage you, as a former council member, I was surprised at how underutilized it is used. There is a service request button on the website. If you see something, say something. It provides a written record. It's unbelievable follow-up that I've seen from the borough when you respond to that, when they respond to you on that service request form. So please do use it. And you know, if you haven't posted thoughts about maintenance there, please absolutely do, because that's where it's captured. It makes a nice record of it that any of us can have access to see where you know, where there are concerns in the community. So keep it up. I'm sorry I don't have more on that. If anyone else has any thoughts on Chris's question.
Yeah, I would add a little bit more. So I've put that slide back up again, and I do want to just highlight that this document is not a formal document. All of the content you see here was compiled by this group that you see on this call today. So these are really just our thoughts and reflections of our discussions. So yes, those dark green lines are connections that would be useful to enhance in some way. It's not a particularly scientific distinction, but there are places where more connections and better connections, whether it's sidewalk or trail, are worth trying to pursue. And that trolley trail, like we said, the city of Pittsburgh has gotten some substantial grant funding to enhance the trolley trail on their side of the border. And that's something that this planning commission has discussed, and we would love for this to be more discussed throughout the community too. That that could be an opportunity for us to not just maintain the crumbling steps, but maybe think about what else we would like to see in addition. Would we like to use that trail more? Could we consider making additional improvements to it?
You know, I'll say that as someone who frequents the Chartiers Creek Trail, there is an extension there that is somewhat maintained by the Conservancy as well. It's not in Crafton, but it continues on. And there's an old pavilion in the woods that is in much disrepair. But it is one of those things where not many communities can boast to have that much walkability in nature, being 4 miles from the city center. So there's a lot of big things that don't cost much, and certainly we can point more attention to by talking to our neighbors. So I'm going to turn to the next question. Alice Glaser asks about the rain garden at Crafton Park, and will it ever be well maintained? I can't speak to it. I don't know if and certainly no one here is qualified to be able to speak to the maintenance of anything. But I encourage you, let's make sure that we document that. I think I'm going to put a service request in myself to ask about that as well as somebody who passes it frequently. So I think those are great ideas. But if you're not familiar with that service request button, it sure is a great way for you to simplify how you communicate. It's not a phone call that you wonder if anybody got. You can put it in, and it's a record that's written, and they send you an email back, and it's a really great system. So I'm a big fan of it. And then the last one.
If I could actually, Eric, I would just like to add one more little follow-up to the rain garden question. I still can't speak to that one specifically, but I do want to say, more largely speaking, if we were to consider doing more things like that throughout the community, if I'm assuming that question came from our conversation of what green infrastructure could be, there is no such thing as maintenance free in the city, but depending on how things are constructed and designed, they certainly can be very low maintenance. And that would definitely be, I think, a key goal. If we were to pursue more things of that sort, we would want to make sure that it is something that we can maintain easily, and that would not become a burden down the road. That's my comment. Design and construction go quite a long way, so that would be at the top of our list in selecting what we ended up doing.
That is a great point. And again, the cost of maintaining something like that is certainly less than digging new pipes as well. So I want to thank you all. And there is 2 more questions here. Well, one comment comes from Elaine Devlin. Kudos to your vision at Crafton Boulevard. The walkability of this town needs help at the main intersections. We couldn't agree with you more. And I think I can speak as an opinion there on this. We couldn't agree with you more. The Crafton Boulevard project is a big contentious thing that's kicking off, and we want to maximize its benefit for the community, not just in terms of the sewer and rainwater separation components of it. So I thank you. There is what are you rezoning to, especially in the overlay district, from Marielle? Maybe someone else maybe understands the context of that question. What are you rezoning to, especially in the overlay district, from Marielle? I don't know if anyone else can see that question.
Well, I'll start, and Lydia can jump in. She's still muted, but first of all, we're not necessarily rezoning. We're not necessarily rezoning that. We are updating what our zoning code is. That doesn't mean that any particular site will be put into a different zone. We're just updating what the regulations will be around that. And the second important point is that we also haven't started. So that process will have community input as we go through it. It has not yet started, so no decisions have been made. But Lydia, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, I think you answered it nicely, but essentially the zoning rewrite isn't necessarily a complete overhaul where we change everything about the borough and how everything's currently zoned. It's really looking at how it currently stands, and making adjustments so that it better serves our future vision and what we want Crafton to look like in the next 20, 30 years, so that we invite the types of businesses and the types of, stakeholders, property owners, et cetera, that we really want to see here. So I hope that answers the question. I don't know if we want to open it up. Is there a way for people to actually talk?
I don't know if
Might
we
be.
have the raise hand feature on for this. If we want to, next time we can turn that on. If you do, just type that you have a question into the question and answer, which is the Q&A with the cartoon balloons above it at the bottom of your screen.
So, yeah, I believe we can allow a specific person to talk if they mention it.
Okay, so can you just turn Mary on? We'll see if she has any follow-up.
Yes.
I don't know how to do, okay,
Cool.
are you doing that?
Yeah, I think I can. Give me 1 second. Okay, Mary L, you should be on.
Okay, I think you answered my question. No, I was just, when you keep talking about rezoning, I just was a little curious on when you're saying rezoning, what were you going to rezone it to be? That's all.
Right. Yeah,
And I think you
that,
answered that, but
I think sometimes it sounds scarier than it is. Really, we're looking to enhance and improve the current code, and in order to do so, you have to look at what's here and make proposed changes on certain pieces of it, and make sure that the new information that we include, cross-references correctly to our other ordinances, et cetera, so that there's not strange broken links between our different ordinances and different codes, and everything's consistent. And as we kind of talked through earlier, we are in the process of getting a grant, and the idea is to have a professional company do that work for us. So this is not a planning commission project where we are looking at the codes and making changes ourselves. This is a professional firm that does this for a living, helping us through that process.
okay,
It
thank
is
you.
also, yeah, it is also standard to update zoning at regular intervals, and ours hasn't been updated in some time. And at some point, because things do change over time and some regulations get outdated, it is expensive for the borough to make small changes regularly. So at some point, it is just time to do a full update. It's cheaper.
Right.
Our update has been an irregular interval, and we're trying to right that ship. So that's going to touch everything. That zoning decision is, I think, an important thing that we hope to help educate everyone on. So with that in mind, there'll be a survey kicking off on the community website, Community Vision website, as well as on Savvy Citizen. And in the good old-fashioned tell your neighbor spirit. So we're going to leave that open for a few weeks, just to hope to get the widest coverage we can. We had let's see, we had quite a few, I think, for our first session here tonight. I don't see any other questions that have come in. I think we hit just about almost 20 people that were on this evening. So we thank everyone. Please tell others to. If there's something of interest, come watch the recording, or come to a meeting, or reach out in any of the ways that we described tonight, or the website. So we thank you. We'll see you in September, and certainly appreciate everyone taking the time to spend this evening with us.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. We look forward to the next workshops too.